Nearly 200 Minnesota healthcare workers have filed a federal lawsuit against 20 Minnesota healthcare providers throughout the state over the pending requirement to take the COVID vaccine or risk losing their job. This is one of many lawsuits being filed across the country requesting religious exemptions from taking the vaccine. Joining me now to discuss this and more is attorney representing those health workers in Minnesota, Gregory Erickson. Gregory, thank you for being here. I want to start with the Minnesota healthcare workers you're representing. They filed this lawsuit against the vaccine mandate based on religious beliefs. The filing seeks a quick hearing and a temporary injunction to bar any terminations or attempts to put unvaccinated workers on unpaid leave. Why are you only looking for a temporary injunction, and how many people are involved in this lawsuit?
Well, first of all, there's 188 people involved, but more are joining every day. So it's hard to say what the numbers are going to be at the end, but they are most definitely growing. In terms of why are we only asking for temporary relief, that's how this works procedurally, okay? What we are asking for eventually is what's called a permanent injunction, which would bar the employer forever from enforcing their vaccine mandate. But procedurally,
that'll take time to win through the courts.
Exactly. What we moved for originally is a temporary restraining order to give us time to give all sides proper time to brief the temporary injunction proceeding, okay? And that stays in place until trial, and then there's a permanent injunction.
Let me ask you this, Gregory. Will religious exemptions hold up in court? And how do they compare with medical exemptions?
Well, in this particular case, it's relatively bizarre because we do have clients, actually quite a few of them, whose religious exemptions are being granted. The problem with those grants is that they are conditional. And that's why those folks are still staying in the case, because they have to live under the specter of having their religious exemption pulled out at any time. The strange thing is that virtually all medical exemptions are being denied, because that would require them to go off their talking point that the vaccine is perfectly safe.
Greg, hundreds, according to reports, but to my eye, thousands of healthcare workers across the country are facing termination or resigning over this Biden mandate. This mandate affects 17 million workers in any facility that receives Medicaid or Medicare reimbursement. Can this withstand judicial review and judicial challenge?
To be honest with you, even more so than judicial scrutiny and challenge, I don't think it can withstand the practical challenge of the business of providing care to Americans. I can tell you that the number of people that are going to be terminated if this, or are going to leave their jobs if this mandate is enforced to the T, it's not going to be in the thousands. It's going to be in the hundreds of thousands, if not a million. Okay, and what we are suffering from currently is a nationwide critical nursing shortage. Partly because the working conditions under COVID were so awful that any nurse that was even remotely close to retirement said, "I'm out of here." Okay, and so we have a nationwide critical situation that is just completely being ignored by the Biden administration. Okay, and the law itself, as it relates to the religious exemptions and the party's ability to ask for and get a religious exemption, is extremely strong on behalf of our clients. And some of the employers have acknowledged this and have granted a good number of these exemptions albeit on a conditional basis.
Well, that's the question. I mean, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act prohibits employment discrimination based on religion, which includes refusing to accommodate an employee's sincerely held belief. So my question is this: any accommodation that would impose an undue hardship, I mean, on the employee, that would violate Title VII, would it not? So if you said, okay, you're not going to get, you have to stay home, or you have to be furloughed, or you're not going to be paid, or you have to go get a COVID test every time you walk in, is that enough of an accommodation?
Well, first of all, yeah, you mentioned a number of things. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that, first of all, if patient safety is really at the heart of this thing, okay, and not just compelling everyone to take the vaccine just to basically get people dependent on government, okay? If patient safety is truly at the heart of this thing, what would happen is, on a daily basis, both the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, okay, would be tested. Because the reality of the situation in the US right now is that people who are vaccinated are getting and transmitting Delta at basically the same rates as the unvaccinated. So if at the end of the day, what the Biden administration really cares about, or these employers really care about, is safety of the people under their care, then everybody's got to be tested, not just the unvaccinated. And to be honest with you, I can guarantee that will very unlikely happen, because that would disincentivize the vaccine, which is clearly the goal of this administration.
Earlier this month, Gregory, a federal judge in New York temporarily blocked the state from forcing medical workers there to be vaccinated. In a statement, Dr. Joseph Sellers, who's president of the Medical Society of the state of New York, said, "We believe this step will result in a flurry of attempts to circumvent the well-reasoned vaccination requirement. No major religious denomination opposes vaccinations, and the Supreme Court has for over 100 years upheld vaccination requirements as a means to protect public health." Now, in New York State, a federal judge ordered hospitals to accept religious exemptions from the mandate. But for a religious exemption, does it matter if other people in your faith or the leaders of a particular faith don't agree with your position on vaccines?
Well, I can tell you that there is I assume all of the country bishops have spoken to this, but I can tell you specifically that the bishop up in Duluth, Minnesota, has spoken exactly to this. Okay, and the bishop was clear, is that under the Catholic religion, the fact that the Pope says that the taking the vaccine is not a sin does not preclude a Catholic from using their religion to say, hey, the fetal cells are involved in the manufacture of these vaccines, and I just can't sanction it because my own personal relationship with God will not allow that. So the Catholic bishop of Duluth, Minnesota, a higher up in the Catholic Church in this state, has spoken directly to this issue, and he says that is not inconsistent in any way, shape, or form with the Catholic faith to be opposed to the vaccine because of the involvement of the fetal cells.
Before I let you go, Gregory, this is a breaking story. Buried on page 168 of this House spending bill, okay, that's moving through Congress, it increases the fines employers could run as high as $70,000 for serious infractions and $700,000 for willful or repeated violations. So if you violate the vaccine mandate, you could get hit for $700,000. That's in addition to the $14,000 OSHA fine anticipated under Biden's announced mandate. Your reaction to that, and whether that's legal?
Well, in my estimation, no, it is not in any way, shape, or form. And the reality is when conservatives don't step up and properly stand up for themselves, the progressives are just going to run wild all over us, and that's what's going on. I mean, they've just completely hijacked the Democratic Party, and I mean, I just think that that's outrageous to bill a company that kind of money for refusing to vaccinate their employees and respecting.
Well, it's meant to break businesses, obviously.
Yeah, without question, it is utilization of the heavy hand of the state to beat employers into submission to comply to this mandate. And I think that the Supreme Court is not going to allow that to stand. I just cannot imagine that they will allow that to stand.
Greg Erickson, we will leave it there. We thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.